My name is Quinn Avery. I'm 33, and for the past 2 years, I've lived in the guest room of my parents' adobe-style home in Santa Fe. Every morning, I make the same tea. Jasmine. 1 sugar. I sit by the window that faces the courtyard, where the wind carries just enough dust to sting. Then I reach for the drawer beside my bed, not because I expect to find anything inside it, but because I used to. There was a velvet box in there once. Midnight blue, embroidered with small white daisies. He picked it because it reminded him of Utah, a wild roadside bloom behind the motel we crashed in during our first trip. That drawer hasn't held the ring for weeks. But I still open it. Some rituals don't know how to end. I used to think love looked like quiet obedience. Like clearing Sky's cereal bowl before school without being asked. Like being the one who apologized first, even when I wasn't the one who slammed the door. Sky was the kind of child who left glitter trails, who screamed during family photos because the dress itched, who never finished anything but always got new beginnings. She was fire. Loud, bright, impossible to ignore. I was expected to be the water that kept her manageable. Mom always said, she just feels things more deeply. Dad would look at me and add, "You're the steady one, Quinn. Keep things calm." I didn't ask for that role. But no one asked if I wanted it. When I was 7, I planned my own birthday. Handmade invitations. Paper crowns from construction scraps. Sky was sick that week, mild fever, so the party was postponed. Then forgotten. The cake I picked out sat in the fridge untouched until it turned. When I was 16, I won a statewide writing competition. Mom skimmed the essay, then changed the subject. Sky had dyed her hair teal that day, it felt more urgent. By 23, I was paying part of their mortgage while living out of a studio with a leaking faucet and 1 functional burner. They didn't know that. They didn't ask. Sky dropped out of college 3 times. Each time, Mom helped her find herself again. Dad said healing wasn't linear. When Elliot came into my life, it felt like I'd finally been seen. He read my essays. He asked about my childhood, then listened, really listened, when I told him the answers felt blurred. He called me the quiet anchor. Said I held rooms together without trying. He was the only person who didn't ask me to dim so someone else could shine. When he proposed, he didn't do it with flash. No rooftop dinner. No crowd. Just us, in the little workshop I rented on weekends. He opened the velvet box and said, "I chose daisies because they grow where other things can't." I thought maybe, finally, I wasn't background anymore. But after he died, my family didn't ask what I needed. Didn't check if I wanted to keep the ring, the house, the silence. They moved on like it was just another calendar event. And I returned to my assigned role, composed, accommodating, unseen. Until the morning I opened that drawer and realized even my grief wasn't safe from them. It happened on a Friday morning. The kind where the air feels heavy for no reason. The kind where everything feels still, like the world's bracing for bad news. I hadn't even had breakfast. I went to the drawer out of habit. Same one, same angle, same soft click. But it was empty. No box. No velvet. No weight. At first, I thought maybe I'd moved it. Maybe I'd tucked it somewhere safer. But the way my body reacted, tight chest, cold fingers, I already knew. This wasn't misplacement. This was theft. I walked downstairs barefoot, wearing an old sweatshirt and 1 sock. The kind of vulnerability you don't prepare for. Mom was at the counter, flipping through a magazine with steam rising from her coffee mug like nothing had shifted. "Morning," she said, not looking up. "Do you know where my ring is?" I asked, calm like glass before it shatters. She blinked slowly. "What ring?" I stared. "The ring, Mom. Elliot's ring. The one he designed." "Oh, that," she said, like I'd asked about the mail. "We sold it." The world went silent, but my mind screamed. "You what?" My voice didn't even rise. It just cracked. She took another sip. Sky needed help with her Bali retreat. Spiritual reset or something. That money let her stay longer. I could hear my own pulse in my ears. "You sold something that wasn't yours." From behind me, Dad's voice came sharp but quiet. "You hadn't worn it in months. We assumed." "It wasn't yours to assume." I turned. He was leaning in the hallway arch, arms crossed, eyes tired like I'd caused this. Like I was being difficult again. I didn't wear it because I couldn't, I said. Because looking at it hurt. But it was mine. He made it with me. He engraved it. Mom shrugged. You're not marrying a ghost, Quinn. And there it was. The final erasure. Like Elliot had never existed. Like I was grieving too loud, too long, too inconveniently. You could have asked. You would have said no, she replied, as if that justified it. Sky needed to find herself. Apparently, she needed my grief to do it. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. I just turned, walked back upstairs, and sat down on the floor beside the drawer. The box was gone, but the cloth, midnight blue, embroidered with daisies, was still there. Limp. Weightless. Meaningless. I picked it up, ran my fingers along the edges. Elliot used to say daisies were underdogs. They grew in places that didn't want them. I sat there a long time, holding a cloth that once held a future. And all I could think was, they didn't just sell a ring. They sold the last piece of someone who saw me. And they didn't even blink. I didn't speak to them for 3 days. Not because I was punishing them. Because I had nothing left to say that wouldn't cost me more than I had left. I stayed in my childhood bedroom, a space frozen in time, faded posters, a crooked bookshelf, the lingering scent of lavender from a candle I never lit. The ring was gone, but its absence echoed in everything. I turned off my phone. Not to avoid them, but to avoid the version of myself I became around them, small, soft, careful not to take up too much space. The kind of quiet that gets mistaken for peace. But silence with them was never neutral. It was expected. By Sunday evening, hunger reminded me I was still alive. I opened my phone to order food and saw it, Sky's latest post. She stood on a cliff in Ubud, arms outstretched, draped in linen, tagged in 3 wellness brands. Caption: healing is expensive, but freedom is priceless. Grateful for those who invested in my growth. There was no mention of me. No mention of Elliot. Just hashtags and glowing comments. You're radiant. You're an inspiration. You're the definition of strength. I stared at the screen until it blurred. She didn't just spend the money. She sold my grief and dressed it in gratitude quotes. Later that night, Mom slipped a folder under my door. Inside, partial receipts, a legal document confirming the sale, and a sticky note with her handwriting. We had to do what was best for everyone. Hope you understand. I didn't. But I didn't knock on their door. Didn't demand anything. Instead, I opened a plastic bin from under my bed, the one marked college, private. Inside, old letters from Elliot, scanned sketches of the ring, receipts, a copy of the insurance valuation, and a note he once left in my coat pocket. It said, "Don't let them take your voice." I sat on the floor and began scanning. Page by page. File by file. No goal. No plan. Just the need to hold on to something that hadn't been repackaged as Sky's spiritual awakening. The next morning, the sun cut through the blinds in fractured stripes. I got dressed without thinking, jeans, a navy sweater, hair pulled back low. At breakfast, no one mentioned the ring. Dad stirred his coffee like nothing had shifted. Mom scrolled through Sky's post like it was gospel. When she looked up, her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You look nice today." "I'm going out," I said. "To do what?" Dad asked. "Something that's mine," I replied. And I left. No plate scraped. No door slammed. Just the soft click of footsteps against tile. Sometimes the loudest thing you can do is walk away quietly. The cafe on Canyon Road was nearly empty that morning. I chose the back corner, farthest from the door, closest to the outlet. I ordered black tea, no sugar, and slid a USB drive from my coat pocket. On it, scanned letters from Elliot, photos of the ring, insurance records, a copy of his mother's note addressed to me after the funeral. She had written, "Thank you for carrying what he couldn't." That ring was his way of saying you were home. I read that line 3 times. Then I opened my laptop. I didn't know exactly what I was building, but I knew this much. I needed a record. Not to go to war. Just to remember I wasn't crazy. I created a folder called Truth. Inside, PDFs, audio files, email chains from Elliot's estate lawyer, screenshots of Sky's posts. One by one, I gave each piece of pain a label, a date, a digital home. By Thursday, I had 24 files. On Friday, I found the podcast. Sky's voice. I hadn't gone looking for it. It popped up on autoplay, a tab I'd left open months ago, back when I still wanted to believe she was redeemable. Healing begins when we let go of the roles people force on us, she said, soft, poised. The host hummed in agreement. Then, I had to release myself from my sister's grief. She wore it like identity. I chose to forgive anyway. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Only listened. Sky wasn't just spending the ring money. She was turning me into her story's villain. 50,000 people had listened. And not one of them knew that while she was forgiving, I was sitting in a room she helped empty. I downloaded the episode. Saved it to the folder. Then opened a blank document and typed, timeline of misuse. Something in me shifted. Not into rage. Into clarity. They hadn't just stolen the ring. They'd stolen my name from the narrative. And I was done being edited out. That weekend, I received a formal-looking envelope. Embossed logo. Heavy paper. It was a gala invitation for the Women Reclaiming Power Initiative. Sky was listed as a keynote speaker. I stared at the words, then laughed once. Dry. Flat. Of course. What no one knew, what Sky would never imagine, was that I was the anonymous donor who funded the event. The foundation name was a quiet nod, Trust, Elliot's initials. Every flower, every chair, every printed brochure, was paid for by the girl Sky had erased. I didn't want revenge. But I did want the truth to breathe. I contacted the event coordinator and submitted a featured donor message. A pre-recorded tribute to Elliot, nothing dramatic. Just a quiet video about memory, legacy, and what's taken when women are asked to stay silent. They accepted it. Slotted it before the final speaker. Sky wouldn't know until it played. The night before the gala, I folded the velvet cloth, still empty, and wrapped the USB drive inside. Placed it in my clutch bag, alongside a printed transcript and a letter addressed to the board of the foundation. Not to expose anyone. Just to be seen. Finally. I didn't sleep much that night. But when the sun rose, something felt still. I wasn't walking into her spotlight. I was the one who'd wired the lights. The ballroom shimmered in soft candlelight. Gold-trimmed menus, white linen, name cards printed in calligraphy. I checked in under no name, just donor guest. That was enough. Sky arrived 20 minutes late, of course. She wore a white silk gown, hair in soft curls, smile tuned for the cameras. Mom clung to her arm like she was presenting a debutante. Dad trailed behind, bored but obedient. I stayed near the back. Not hidden. Just quiet. Dinner passed in polite clinks and shallow laughter. Then the host took the stage. And now, she said, a brief tribute from a featured donor, before we welcome our final speaker. The lights dimmed. The screen flickered. Black background. White text. In memory of Elliot R. Hart. A quiet life. A lasting truth. Then the video played. It was me. Sitting in a chair. No makeup. No filter. My name is Quinn Avery, I began, and I didn't come here for credit. I came to remember someone the world forgot too fast. I spoke about Elliot. The ring. The sale. The silence. I never said Sky's name. I didn't have to. Every word was a mirror she couldn't avoid. I ended simply. Sometimes the ones who are erased are expected to clap for those doing the erasing. I won't do that anymore. Silence followed. Then murmurs. A few gasps. Some turned toward Sky. She was still standing near the stage, frozen mid-smile. Mom reached for her, but Sky pulled away. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. I walked out during the pause. No applause. No confrontation. Just a quiet woman in a black dress, slipping through the side doors like smoke. As I reached the street, I heard it. A voice behind me. She paid for this? Then another. That was her fiancé. But I didn't turn around. Didn't need to. The room that never saw me finally had no choice. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I felt real. The next morning, my phone didn't stop buzzing. Missed calls. Unread messages. Sky crying on Instagram Live, claiming she was ambushed by someone still stuck in the past. Mom sent a single text. "You've humiliated this family. I hope you're proud." I didn't reply. I turned my phone face down and slid it into the drawer next to the velvet cloth, now folded small, like memory pressed flat. Then I got dressed. No makeup. No earrings. Just jeans, boots, and a navy coat. The one Elliot used to say made me look like I had secrets worth keeping. I left the house without saying goodbye. The drive to the studio was quiet. Santa Fe's early sun stretched long across the pavement, casting soft gold on adobe walls and tired rooftops. The kind of morning that didn't demand anything from me. I turned the key, stepped inside. Langford and Hart, crafted with memory. My name wasn't on the sign. But my hands were on every design. The space smelled of metal and citrus polish. Tools lined the back wall like instruments waiting to be played. On one shelf, under a glass dome, sat the velvet cloth, now holding nothing. And yet, it held everything. That day, a woman came in asking for a custom pendant. Her husband had passed. She wanted his cufflink turned into a locket. I listened. I didn't rush her. I understood. By noon, I was sketching again. Soft lines. Sharp curves. Nothing too precious, but everything intentional. At 3:17 p.m., I received one final message. Not from my family. From a college friend I hadn't spoken to in years. It read. Saw your tribute. Just wanted to say, thank you. You said what so many of us couldn't. I didn't cry. I just exhaled, long, full, clean. Not because it was over. But because something inside me had finally gone still. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't waiting. I wasn't theirs. I was mine. I didn't share this to be forgiven. I shared it so I wouldn't forget. So the next time someone asks why I'm distant, why I don't go home for the holidays, why I don't wear the earrings my mother offered as peace, I'll remember. Not out of anger. But clarity. Sometimes, walking away isn't rebellion. It's recovery. And if you've ever been asked to stay quiet, so someone else could shine louder, I hope this story reminded you. You're allowed to choose silence. But make sure it's yours. Tell me. Have you ever felt invisible in the house you helped keep standing? Leave a comment. I read every one. And if this story found you at the right time, hit subscribe. Some truths don't echo until they're spoken aloud.